Hey, Battle Bill, here with another video. Getting some more Season 12 Go Battle League battles. These taking place in the Open Ultra League meta, and in today's video, I literally have the best Open Ultra League team for you. If you want to rise from the pits, the ashes, gain a bunch of elo, and win a bunch of battles, this is no crazy special unique team. You can see it on the screen. It's quite meta at that, but I gained literally 200 points in one day of Open Ultra League battles with this team comp. We have a collection of 10 battles for today's video, and we are going to show you the ins and outs of this team so you can run it for some legitimate success in the Go Battle League. Now, this team has level 50 Galarian Stunfisk that is best buddied with Tapu Fini and Trevenant behind it. If you're excited for this kind of content, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and let's jump right into the battles. This first matchup, we have a Galarian Stunfisk lead going up against Walrein. We're doing our counts, we're checking them twice, we're making sure they're about to get to the Earthquake, and then we're throwing a really nice rock slide. Alright, I don't know why I was trying to rhyme. Either way, it ended up being excellent. We know they're at the Earthquake here. We're expecting them to go for it because of the Icicle Spear nerf. Essentially, Walreins are more apt to throw the Earthquake immediately instead of trying to play the bait game. They then swap into a Cresselia. We meet them with the hard counter of Trevenant. We are at a shield disadvantage, so this kind of allows Crest to play this matchup a little bit better. Also, please do excuse me. I wanted to get as many battles in and keep this video not too long, so if I do mess up the commentating or explaining, it's because the battles are going a bit fast, but I've got a bunch for you. We got some mostly wins, a couple losses. Obviously, like I said, we have big gains, almost literally hitting veteran with this team in the span of a day. But also, we threw this seed bomb here, which was a mistake on our part. Should have went for the shadow ball, should have known they were not going to commit to trying to keep switch considering the circumstances. They'd rather have the shield if they were going to play out the Walrein Galarian Stunfisk matchup. But now we're in a different situation because of the slight misplay on my part, but this just goes to show how good the team is. Because of a misplay on my part, we're able to overcome it. We overfarm a bunch before the Crest can throw another move. We are almost at back-to-back rock slides. We get the shield. The opponent makes a mistake, has no idea where our energy's at, overfarms because they should have been at least an Icicle Spear or Earthquake at that point. Yeah, they literally just got into it because you see they survive with 1 HP on the rock slide, get off the EQ, but we survive that. We go into Tapu Fini and we get met with a Giratina Alter with Dragon Breath, and we just completely hard wall it. Now, if that Giratina had Shadow Claw, we actually might have lost a zero shield there. It would have been a super close matchup, but with Dragon Breath, we double resist, and essentially it's super difficult for Giratina to throw any damage at the Tapu Fini. Getting into this next matchup, we have another Giratina Alter with Dragon Breath, and it must be running Ancient Power also because they decided to throw a Dragon Claw at our Galarian Stunfisk that is resisting it. They're staying in this matchup, so this tells us they're ABA weak to Galarian Stunfisk, but then they swap into a Cresselia, another one. Surprise, surprise. We meet it with the hard counter of Trevenant. We let them throw the first move, ends up being a Future Sight, which is not the correct play here. If you are running the moveset of Future Sight Moonblast, you just want to go double Moonblashes based on the fact that two are going to take out no matter which move you decide to do. Now, I think we come to find out they're running Grass Knot, which I guess would allow, which now makes sense and adds up to why you're running Future Sight, but throwing Future Sight there, but a lot of crests with Future Sight essentially have Moonblast alongside them, but all three movesets on crest are viable, and we didn't mind expending the shield even though it ended up being Grass Knot bait because we have enough energy to throw Shadow Ball at the Giratina to get that shield back. We keep alignment, we're going to meet the Giratina with the Galarian Stunfisk one more time. They then swap into a Registeel, and we want to stay in this matchup. Tapu Fini will play the Registeel matchup very well. Tapu Fini will play the Giratina matchup very well, and Galarian Stunfisk will do a good job handling this Registeel. That's most important for us here. So they go for back-to-back Focus Blast essentially, and we end up shielding both of them. Obviously, we want to get the Earthquake off here. It does not take out the Registeel. We know we get outpaced, so we're just throwing a Rock Slide. They have no choice but to throw a Focus Blast at us, so we will stay in this matchup, not try to catch or do anything along those lines. Focus Blast should take out the remainder of our health. It does. We come in with the Tapu Fini. The little bit of health they have left, we're able to Water Gun down, give us some farm, which also is a smart play in throwing the Rock Slide, because if we don't do that chip, the Water Gun down is a little bit more difficult, which could potentially let them have enough health to get to a Zap Cannon, which is going to hurt Tapu Fini a lot. They come back with the Giratina, and we have another Tapu Fini lined up with the Giratina for easy GGs, and they top left. Going into the next matchup, we have a Galarian Stunfisk against a Jellicent lead. I don't know what the right play is for Jellicent because I don't play it often in this matchup, but almost every Jellicent that I've been going up against throws a Bubble Beam before I can get off an Earthquake. Logically, you want to debuff, that makes sense, but I just feel like, now you've wasted energy and you can't do major damage in the form of Shadow Ball by doing that. So I don't know if the pros of debuffing me outweighs the con of not doing enough damage. And this opponent's just going straight Bubble Beam, and I'm not calling any of it. I don't really know why they're going straight Bubble Beam. It's not because they're running Ice Beam, because we're going to find out they do have Shadow Ball. Either way, we get off another Earthquake there. It is doing less damage. They've built up enough energy for the Shadow Ball here, but we're going to let it go through. Galarian Sunfist tanky enough, can eat that. We just essentially easily outpace them to the Earthquake to the point where we even over farm a little bit. And of course, a lot of these matchups are key on knowing how to play 2-turn moves into 3-turn moves like Hex. Remember, you want to throw your charge moves on your first fast move or your 4th fast move or your 7th fast move so that your opponent is not able to sneak in any free fast moves, and you don't want to be throwing into alignment. That's the easiest way to remember it if you're counting your own fast moves. Another safe way to remember is if you want to count the opponent's fast move is you can throw when they get to 5. I don't know the other specific numbers that work in terms of their opposing charge move, because obviously 5 is not going to be reasonable in every circumstance. But also the safest one when you have a bunch of energy is throwing right after 1 fast move each. So now we have a Trevenant matchup against the Ferrothorn here. We're sitting in a great spot. We essentially RPS his opponent pretty confidently. 1 lead, 1 swap, and then this Talonflame comes back in. Our opponent saved 2 shields, as if 2 shield Talonflame is going to be able to fast move down our Tapu Fini. No matter how much they boost their attack with these flame charges that they're going to be throwing, we are going to commit to the water gun farm down of the century. Will the Tapu Fini get there, take out the Talonflame in time for GG's? Opponent, save your shields for Season 13. I hope you enjoy them in your future matches. Getting into the next matchup, we have a Galarian Sunfist on a Shadow Canto Muck lead. This is an amazing lead for us, and this is a mon we definitely don't want to see in the back, considering the super effective damage you can do to Tapu Fini with the Poison Jabs and the Thunder Punches, and then the option of Dark Pulse for super effective against Trevenant. They then save swap into Lapras, and I could technically go into Trevenant here, but it doesn't feel that comfortable because I really don't want to get Ice Sharded, and a lot of Laprases have access to Ice Beam, so I want to throw double Rock Slides there like I just did, and then go for a Surf before they apparently get to the Skull Bash, because they built up to 8 Ice Shards, which means they're throwing a Skull Bash and not an Ice Beam. We're going to let this charge move come through. We're going to be able to keep alignment, and with them raising their defense, it just turns into more farm for us. We're going to wait out. Well, we're going to see if they're going to wait out the switch timer or not. The Canto Muck comes in. Now, we're not in the best potential spot, just because now this Canto Muck's going for Farmsville to throw a bunch of energy at our Galarian Sunfist, but our Tapu Fini has amazing raid IVs. It's like the 2nd best raid IVs. It survives the jab down to get off another Surf, which forces their shield, keeps our alignment, gives us a nice a nice shield advantage, and now the Canto Muck can go for charge moves, and we're feeling safe. Plus, these Shadow Dark Pulses are really not doing all that much damage, plus the Poison Jabs are going to be triple resisted against Galarian Sunfist, so we can eat very comfortably. This opponent was running quite the team, actually. I just realized this was Muck double Ice Water. Their last mon here being Walrein. We are essentially building up to as many Rock Slides until we get a shield from them so that we can then comfortably go into our Trev. But we also have now a 2 shield to no shield advantage. So no matter what they decide to do charge move wise or attack wise, essentially, whether they want to fast move us down or throw Icicle Spears, we can comfortably over farm in this situation, double shield, and build up enough energy so that we can outpace the Walrein and outpace the Muck when it comes back in. This Seed Bomb will take out the remainder of the Shadow Walrein's health. The Muck is coming in. We almost Shadow Claw down before we get the Seed Bomb off, and this is going to be GG's for our 4th straight match. Like I said, I have literally 2 sets, back-to-back sets, where I started elo-wise at 2383, and you'll see where I end up elo-wise. Actually, no, I think I actually excluded that in the second set, but you'll see halfway through the battles at least how high I go up in between these sets, and then I'll let you know what my final elo is after we're done with the battles. Getting into this next matchup, we have a Galarian Sunfist on a Talonflame lead. Not the best lead in the world, but one we can play into a positive situation, meaning that we should be able to essentially get both the Talonflame shields and then come with Tapu Fini after. That is what we do. And I think the opponent misplays though, because we end up winning this. I meant to go double check the 2 shield scenario, because I could have swore that I get outpaced, because in another match I essentially was getting outpaced, And that's not what ended up happening here. I ended up in a great situation. We EQ the Sylveon that swapped into our Steel type, which was interesting. And then we're over farming. We were thinking this was going to be a Moonblast, but we didn't mind whether it was or wasn't. They ended up throwing a Psyshock. I had not counted Charms at this point, so I did not know exactly how much energy they were at, but we would have been fine either way. We then throw the Seed Bomb so that we can have a little bit of energy. And then they make a huge mistake here and come in with the Virizion, when all they should have done was come in with their Talonflame, and we would have thrown the Shadow Ball at it. But I guess they don't know our last Mon, so they're thinking to themselves, let's try and preserve the Talonflame. I guess that was their logic, essentially. But because of that, they put us in a potentially better situation. My win con, though, is to get off as much damage from the Galarian Sunfisk onto the Virizion as possible. Try to go for another Rock Slide, hope that they're not able to farm down. They end up throwing a Charge Move, so this is looking like we might have a chance. We really need a Water Gun farm down before they get to Elite Blade, and we just fall short, which is super unfortunate. I don't remember where the Talonflame's energy is at, but we misplay by not utilizing and maximizing the amount of water guns we can get in before our next surf because of the Incinerates. And you'll notice, I thought they had more energy, which is why I made that mistake. You'll notice they just got to the Brave Bird with 1 HP. And if I would have maximized on that second Incinerate, did a couple more water guns before it went through, that could have literally made the difference and won me that match. Getting to this next one, we have a terrible lead. Whenever you're faced with a terrible lead with this team comp, you want to save swap into Tapu Fini, especially in the Swampert matchup because Trevenant's too hard of a counter. They have a regular Swampert, so we're not as afraid of this matchup. With our own Tapu Fini, they land an Earthquake, which does a good chunk of damage, but doesn't put us in a range for them to Icicle Spear when they come with the Walrein. So their Walrein is still forced to EQ us, so we're building all the way up to the Moonblast. And they end up deciding to throw the move as right before we can get to it, essentially, because obviously they want to keep Switch. They want to keep Swampert lined up the Galarian Sunfisk. Now, I go back into this matchup as fast as possible because I thought our Switch timers were a little bit less in line because they threw a whole charge move before swapping out and had to farm a bit. But you'll notice after I throw a Rock Slide, they throw a move, I swap back into Trev against their Swampert. They're able to swap out, and we essentially get RPS in this match. We also get a bunch of lag, so I have no idea what ends up happening in this situation if they did an extra Incinerate and ended up with 6 and no energy for it because of that lag. But regardless, we got to play in our circumstances. That be the Go Battle League sometimes. They go for a Flame Charge. We baited them once, so that's why we're committing in this situation. Trying to bait again, we pull it off, and now we know based on our baits we're going to be able to get off the Shadow Ball that will take out the Talonflame's remaining health. Trevenant is a Talonflame counter confirmed. We then swap into our Galarian Sunfisk, and based on the amount of fast move damage we're able to deal throughout this match, that Swampert's health is actually a lot lower than expected. They also EQ there. If they double Hydro Cannon, get our shield, throw another one, the second Hydro Cannon does not take out, so I understand why they EQ'd, and we're able to Mud Shot down. We overcome the poor lead based on our swaps, based on them staying in the matchups and not having comfortable answers to our back line. And we're able to win after a terrible lead. Getting to the next match with Galarian Sunfisk on a Poison Jab Alolan Muk. This matchup's just as good as the Poison Jab Canto Muck matchup. So we just stay in comfortably. They're staying in also, which is screaming at me that they're ABA weak. I just like to overfarm a bunch in these kinds of situations, mostly because we're not threatened by this Alolan Muk whatsoever. We throw the Earthquake. They let it go through. They're one shot. I make a very suspicious play here. I'm staying in with the Galarian Sunfisk and I EQ. I should have just stayed in, let them beat my Stunfisk, and I came in with Tapu Fini. Instead, I come in with the Trevenant to try and debate them into swapping to try to keep alignment with Obstagoon on the Stunfisk, which is a mistake on my end and definitely not what I should have done in this matchup. And they don't take that bait whatsoever. They actually threw an Obstruct, so I'm happy I didn't show the first move. I have no intentions of keeping my Trevenant alive. It served its purpose by not getting the job done, unfortunately. But again, totally on me. We're going to spam as many Seed Bombs, but they're not going to do as much damage because the Obstagoon obstructed and it raised its defense while lowering mine. We're going to let another charge move come through. There should be another Obstruct. It will take out our remaining health. We're going to wait out the switch timer so that when we come in, we're not switch locked. We do have a shield advantage. We're going to go in the Tapu Fini, so the Obstagoon's essentially useless, thankfully. They then go into a Cresselia. So we want to get off this Moonblast to try to help our Galarian Sunfisk take out the Crest, but we also need to preserve our Tapu Fini for that Obstagoon matchup. So we get out. We still have a shield advantage. We're waiting to see what charge move they threw, and it ends up being a Future Sight. So we're running into another Future Sight Moonblast. Cresselia this time, because you would definitely just throw the Grass Knot right here, right now, if you had it. And this moveset does make sense in the meta just because Moonblast can still hit dark types for Crest, and then Future Sight gives it a better chance against the Talonflame. But because of it, it does hurt them in this situation because now my Tapu Fini is really not all that threatened. They're throwing more expensive moves that are not super effective. We shield regardless though because of our circumstances and the fact that Obstagoon can't do any damage to our Tapu Fini. And we attempted the water gun down the Crest. They swapped out. They threw an Obstruct at us. Obstagoon is also completely useless with the triple dark moveset against the Tapu Fini because all that damage is literally doing nothing to us. Not triple dark. They're running counter as a fast move. The charge moves are both dark, so double dark. And then the Crest comes in, we water gun down, and that ends up being GG's for that match there. So as you're noticing, obviously we're running into some really good alignment. One thing to keep in mind, because you might notice this team, if we run into an Obstagoon lead or a Scrafty lead, we'd be a little core broken. What can happen is if you're seeing a lot of those, you can literally still run this team of 3. Just put Tapu Fini in the lead, and you should be able to have still a bunch of success in that situation. Getting to this next matchup, we have the Galarian Stunfisk on a Talonflame lead, and this is what I was referring to in one of the last Talonflame matchups. Essentially, we try to maximize the amount of fast moves we get through. We throw a Rock Slide. This does not take them out, and now based on that, we're going to lose. Well, we might be able to mud shot them down. Maybe that's why. I felt like I was going to lose that matchup because they decided not to use a shield. But I might have been able to actually mud shot down considering how low the Talonflame was. So we caught the Flame Charge on the Tapu Fini, and then we get lined up with a Tapu Fini against a Crest, which essentially is showing me that this is not going to work out well because I would have preferred to have this Crest lined up with the Tapu. If my Stunfisk would have been able to play out the situation against the Talonflame and win that matchup, then we could have had different alignment. We could have had Trevenant on the Crest and Tapu Fini on whatever their last mon is, and I'm pretty confident that ends up being the difference maker in this match. We don't know that at this moment yet, so we're trying to essentially overfarm a bunch, get as much extra energy before they can get off another charge move, throw the Seed Bomb, gonna take out the Crest's remaining health, and then we find out the last mon's Obstagoon, and if we had different alignment, that could have been a win for us. Unfortunately, though, based on the circumstances and the play, we have the top left, and it ends up being GG's. Getting to this next matchup, we have a terrible lead. Stunfisk on a Shadow Swampert. We save swap against the Tapu Fini. They're staying in. We're a little bit more worried about Shadow Swampert's big damage in the form of Earthquake, so we shield up. Our opponent then swaps into a Miltank, which is quite the spice mon and exciting mon to use in Ultra League. It might have a lot more play. It's just harder to get because, you know, getting Miltank XLs when you're playing legitimately and trying to build it for Ultra League is not an easy thing. I'm confident that this opponent and trainer, because they're a well-known PvP in the community, is running a legitimate Miltank. At least I hope so. I'm not here to say vice versa. I don't know their stats. Regardless, we're faced with it now with our Tapu Fini, and we are recognizing we're not going to be able to win switch, so we swap and catch their Body Slam on our Galarian Stunfisk, which ends up being a huge play for us. And because of the fact that they, I guess, didn't feel comfortable with Miltank against Tapu Fini and threw all that extra energy earlier, we're going to shield. They go for an Earthquake, knowing that, I guess, I could no shield a Hydro Cannon and survive. We throw an Earthquake to match. We get their last shield, and essentially, because we got their shield and we're in the no shield situation, Trevenant can have a lot better play against the opponent's back line. I try to get to another Earthquake. Unfortunately, I fall one mud shot short, so I could have also baited in this situation and landed an Earthquake to take out the Swampert, but that works out fine because we know they have Hydro Cannon Earthquake, so Trev can come in here comfortably. We just have to worry about both their last mon. Oh, well, we don't even know their last mon, actually. We come to find out it's Tapu Fini. They also swap out to not get farmed down because they guess they don't want their Talonflame to get Shadow Balled, but then we're able to put our Tapu Fini on that Talonflame, and they're going for an Incinerate farm down. That was like their 5th Incinerate. Does not work out for them. They needed that, though, in order to win. So I respect the play. We surf, we take out the Tapu Fini. They're waiting out their switch clock, maybe hoping to try to make some form of sacrifice swap. I throw here, even though it looks like I could Shadow Claw down the Miltank because they had just gotten to their 4th rollout, and I didn't know at this time, based on how many moves they had thrown, if the 4th one would have let them get to the Ice Beam. So I did not want to take that chance and eat an Ice Beam on my Trev because that would have been GG's. And it ends up working out because we Shadow Claw down the Swampert to win the match. Getting into this next matchup, we have Galarian Stunfisk against a Giratina Ultimate Shadow Claw. This is a positive matchup. We're spamming a bunch of Earthquakes. They're going to throw a bunch of neutral Shadow Sneaks or potentially resisted Dragon Claw's Ancient Powers because Ancient Power is making a comeback now that it's been essentially rebuffed. Even though the boost of Ancient Power got nerfed, damage-wise, Ancient Power is a more viable move and still has a chance of boosting both attack and defense by 1 stage. So Giratinas will definitely be running either Ancient Power or Shadow Sneak, depending on what their objective is. So this opponent's running Shadow Sneak. We win the 0 shield. We get a bunch of lag here, which is super unfortunate, but we're still able to play it out how we want to, which is over farm, get off a Rock Slide, take out the Giratina's remaining health, win the 0 shield. They come in with a Swampert. We don't mind this. It's a regular Swampert too, so we're able to get off an Earthquake, which is fantastic. On top of the fact that now we can line the Swampert up with our Trevenant. Does a good chunk of the health. They mud shot us all the way down. We're like partially worried about a Sludge Wave, but like honestly, regardless of what we came in with, both mons would have to be worried about Sludge Wave. Trev takes neutral. Tapu Fini would worry about it worse. We're letting it come through no matter what, just based on the circumstances. They throw an Earthquake, and I'm pretty confident if you have Earthquake Hydro Cannon, you want to just throw Hydro Cannons. So mistake by our opponent there. They come in with the Walrein, and we want to get the shields because the Tapu Fini Walrein matchup in like the 2 shields and the 1 shield is uncomfortable. You need to land the Moonblast, and with Water Gun, you're not generating energy all that fast. So we get both shields, and then we go into our Tapu Fini. Now we're feeling comfortable because we can essentially eat an Earthquake if need be, maybe call the Earthquake, maybe get baited, one or the other. We end up getting baited, but we're still not in a bad spot because we could eat an Earthquake if they got to it, but I guess they just fallen short. We get to the Moonblast. This will take out the Walrein's remaining health. The Swampert comes back in, and we know because it's a regular Swampert that the Earthquake is not going to take out our Tapu Fini's remaining health. You're also potentially in the situation where if, like, let's say they did land the Earthquake, they still technically would have needed to land another Earthquake from Swampert. Maybe they needed the Hydro Cannon, actually. But Trevenant might have had enough health to get to a C-Bomb and potentially win, or Shadow Claw down, depending on the circumstances. Either way, we pull out the match. Walrein didn't get to the move, so I don't know why I'm playing with semantics here. And regardless, out of 10 battles I showed you, these are 10 straight matches from 2383 Elo, and then up. We went 8-2 in those matches, and then we gained enough elo to get to 2470. I literally started today at 2280. I didn't want to show you all 25 battles. You can check out my Twitch channel. The VOD is up. If you want to watch all those battles, highly recommend checking out content there. But I swear to you, this is the team. It's nothing spice. It's nothing unique. It's nothing crazy. Also, I meant to give credits. I didn't even come up with this team. Shout out to my viewer, Infamous. He's the one that suggested this team comp to me, and I ran it and ran with it, and I've had literally nothing but positive sets, 3-2, and mostly 4-1s. So I highly recommend it. We still have another week of Ultra League. If you want to make some gains, I swear, this is the team. Maybe you've seen it elsewhere. Regardless, this is my first time coming across it, and I definitely want to just get it out to as many people as possible. So on that note, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you all in the next video. Preach!